This is Matt.
This is Seth.
Welcome to
The Unbroken Net.
This is a podcast where we're going to share with you some ridiculous ideas.
Yeah, and who cares if you believe what we believe? Just think for yourself.
That's all we're asking. Good day, and welcome to this edition of The Unbroken Net. Today we're continuing in the book of James, and we're going to cover chapter 2, verses 1 through 4. So Seth, would you go ahead and read us off that?
Yeah, of course. My brothers, show no partiality as you hold the faith in our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory. For if a man wearing a gold ring and fine clothing comes into your assembly, and a poor man in shabby clothing also comes in, and if you pay attention to the one who wears the fine clothing and say, "You sit here in a good place," while you say to the poor man, "You stand over there," or "Sit down at my feet," have you not then made distinctions among yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts? So I like where James is going with this. I mean, first of all, he says, so my brothers, show no partiality as you hold the faith in our Lord Jesus Christ. So there should be no one above or below.
Correct.
Show everybody as equals.
Yep, just like God is impartial.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, he says, he's talking about the man who appears to be rich. Don't give him more glory than the person that's poor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What kind of thoughts does that give for you?
So it's really easy to pick and choose who we want. And I'm thinking you got the one who looks rich in their clothing and apparel and all of that and their worldly goods. But then sometimes you can do the same thing with spiritual people. You can find someone who you think is spiritually rich and give them special attention, while someone who might be spiritually poor, you kind of allow to flounder on the side when... it doesn't matter who the person is. It doesn't matter what their financial status is. It doesn't matter where their mental health status is. It doesn't matter their criminal background. It doesn't matter. Nothing about their life matters when it comes to how you should treat them. You should treat them as if they were yourself. That's what we're told to do.
Right. Now, why would James be saying this?
Well, because there was people who were doing just that. They were picking and choosing who they wanted to be in the good spots, who they wanted to be in the conversation, who they wanted to be in the fellowship. And so they were picking their players instead of just taking everyone who came freely as they are, where they're at. You know, they wanted the cream of the crop.
Yeah, I can
to be in their presence.
It'd be easy to just cater to the people who are wealthy because, I mean, at least here in America, we're kind of a society that's built off of, capitalism, and then just, money moves things. Like even in our churches, it's churches need funding to be able to prosper and be able to have a church that, just has people. Or can it needs funding to be able to have the pastor and the building and all these things that require funding. So I can see it's easy to cater to people and to those who have more wealth, try to keep them on the tithing. That's kind of what makes me think of. I know that's not exactly where spiritually that's not exactly where we're going with this, because really it's more about the equality and not looking at somebody who's more wealthy and esteeming them higher than somebody who may not have a cent to their name. And in fact, we should, I would go further and say we should even try to esteem that person who has less to bring them to more of an equality.
Mm.
Was that me?
No, it was me.
Oh, okay. I've done that before. I remember
Yeah, I
that.
forgot to put it on silence.
Remember we did the podcast and I think my phone went off like 20 times.
Yeah,
But anyways,
cool.
so we were talking about so the wealthy, and then so like in the church setting, I think it's easy to fall in the trap of just catering to those who have that wealth, and so I mean, who can blame somebody who's trying to meet that bottom line? But we shouldn't be in a place of fear with that either.
No. Yeah, it doesn't matter what someone can contribute. The question is, what are you contributing? What are you giving to the people that are around? And there are times when we have nothing to give, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are times when we are that poor person. But then there are other times where we have lots to give, and we're the wealthy person.
Right.
And no matter what our circumstance is, the way we treat one another should be the same. And the way we treat other people, it's not about your name or your title or your wealth or your position. You know, if you're a nice person, well, then there's nice rewards coming to you. But if you're a jerk, you know, you're going to get what's coming. And I will do my best to lift you up as a jerk, you know, to help you get a spiritual foundation under you. But, you know, it's really easy to deal with people because they have money. You know, how many times, you know, does someone get on a job that they're loving because it's someone who they have lots of money and they want lots of work done. But is it worth it because they're so picky or they're so demanding or, you know, I don't know. You got to be really careful when you put your focus on the things that don't really matter in the world.
Yeah. I mean, it'll all fade away.
It's all fading away.
The only thing that lasts are the relationships and our connections with the people, our spiritual connections with people.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no rich or poor
No.
in the spiritual realm.
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, he goes on and says, so let's see what he says here. So, and if you pay attention to the one who wears the fine clothing and say, you sit here in a good place, while you say to the poor man, you stand over there, or sit down at my feet, have you not then made distinctions among yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts? So let's just back it up a little bit. So when what kind of setting is James actually putting? Is this like it seems almost like a banquet?
No, so the old Jewish synagogues were open rooms with seating around the edges.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And then when the seating ran out, everyone would just stand around, and they usually had a men's section and a women's section. And there was better places to sit, and there was not better. And oftentimes the children would be at the feet, and so you could say to the go sit with the kids. Go sit with the kids. You're not ready for this, or go stand over there in the corner, because we don't have any room for you up front here. You know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the picture that we get. Or that's what that's what's in James' mind when he's talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of even illustrates that point more. Like what's our synagogue today? I would say it would be our churches.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one person was telling me about the story. This person is actually pretty well-to-do, but then his church, or the leaders of his church, they actually reach out to all the people who were, contributed well to their, to the tithing. Like they gave over and above, and they rewarded them. They or I think they went out to eat or somehow they rewarded the people that were giving more, and that kind of makes me think of this illustration, like giving them the good seat.
Mm-hmm. Giving them all the benefits, like you invested this much, so we'll give you this in return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to get away from that. It's kind of how we think.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like it's even how they thought back then.
Yeah, Yeah, follow the money.
Yeah. So, so tell me more about what would be do you know what this better seat would look like?
I'm not. I haven't studied it
Okay.
in so long.
I won't put you on the spot. Even
Yeah,
though I
don't
just
put
did.
me on. You just put me on the spot, and I floundered.
Oh, sorry about that. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll talk about it some other time.
Maybe.
I mean, if you asked me, I would have no idea. I'd be like, yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. Just the fact that it was a good place. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's a better place, and trying to esteem this rich person over the everybody else. But James actually says that if you do this, aren't you being judges with evil thoughts?
Mm.
He goes pretty hard on people who actually would esteem the people over
Yeah.
the low, like what we'd call lower class, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Judges with evil thoughts. It's so easy to use our worldly logic to rationalize the way we treat people, and it fails every time. How are you to provide your services in an impartial way, equally to everyone who's interested and involved?
Mm-hmm.
And the only way is if you consider everyone equal as brothers and sisters. And that's something that you have to arrive at on your own. I think it's something that we have to untrain ourselves from the ways of the world. It's just what we see. It's what happens all the time. And if we can learn to undo that way of thinking and to think equally, like think about equality, think about how do we be fair to everyone? How do we treat everyone the same way? Let's not treat this one group one way and this group another way. Let's, in my opinion, when I approach someone, I look them in the eye and I treat them as if they were my brother or sister. Because I really believe they are. I think there's only one source and there's only one family line and there's only one gene pool and we're all in it together.
Yeah.
So we really are one family, but we don't treat each other that way. We treat each other as if there's different families and there's an us and a them, different classes, and there isn't. There is no more barbarian, Scythian, slave, or free. Christ is all and Christ is in all.
Yeah, I mean, what if you actually took away all the riches of this world? Nobody had anything. What would make somebody better than somebody else?
Honestly, it comes down to their character, doesn't it? Like, who do you want to be around? Do you want to be around the person who's always looking for more? Do you want to be around the person who's always complaining about everything that's not exactly how they want it? Or do you want to be around the person who's, just loving the moment and spending their time with whoever they're around completely?
Yeah.
Not distracted by wealth or appeal or any of those other things, but looking at the heart and the soul of each person you're around.
Right. Yeah, there was, to me, I know that when I was younger, I was a teenager, and I was thinking about the people that I really would want to spend time with, and like, when you're a teenager, you get caught up with, like, there was one in this group of people that I used to be with. There was one kid who was a little quirky, and people really didn't want to hang out with him. And, to feel included, I kind of fed into that, which, of course, that's not something to be proud of. But then there was one other kid who's like kind of stood up for. It's actually a couple times. There's a few people I've in my past that this has happened, but he stood up for this other person. I'm like, man, I'd rather be with this person than anybody else that makes fun of somebody else. Like, I want to be with somebody, or I want to be like that. Like, I want to be accepting of everybody, because if you're accepting of everybody, that it's an attractive thing. Just you want to spend time, you want to have friends like that.
Yeah.
You don't want to be with someone who's going to be making fun of somebody or gossiping about this other person. Because who knows, maybe they're talking about you behind your back, and you don't want to be that person either. But back to the passage when he says judges with evil thoughts. So what makes this? Makes this so evil? So this is like this separation of rich, like exalting the rich over the poor, or we could say the spiritually rich or the spiritually poor. Why is that such an evil thought? I have my ideas, but I'll let you answer it first.
Well, my thought is, in order to figure out what is evil, we must figure out what is the opposite of evil. And what would be the opposite of evil but holy?
Yep.
Right? So what is our example of holiness? We have to look to the one who made all this and say, what is holy? And we certainly know that God is impartial, right? He treats everyone the same. The scriptures say that, and not only that, but our experience says that. I haven't seen God intervene, any differently in my life than I have in others. I've seen circumstances differ, I've seen luck differ, right? But as far as God interacting in my life and God interacting in your life, I don't think God interacts any differently with me than he does with you. We like to say God does things, right? Oh, God gave me this much money, and God gave me this, and God gave me that. Mm-hmm. But did God really give you that? Like, how do you know God gave you that? Did you see God give you that? Did God write you a letter about that and say, hey, I gave you this? Or did it just come about in the same way it comes about for everybody else? We all get our day in the sun. And God gives the rain to the rich and the poor. He gives it to the righteous and the unrighteous. We all get the same thing. Mm-hmm. And instead of making distinctions among ourselves, that's evil. We view each other as equals, as a family, and that's holy. That's the way God views us, as his joint heirs. You know.
Yeah, it definitely the theme of this seems to be, don't have that partiality, don't have that, keep yourselves as equals. But looking at this on another side, I mean, it's kind of same side, or the other side of the same coin, I guess. But if we look at this, where's the love in this story? Like, and I guess you might say that they're not loving the lesser, and they're loving the richer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's either of those. I think that why would you actually decide to esteem a more rich person than the lower person? And it's because you want something from that rich person. You want their wealth. You want to hang out with that person because you want to get the good gifts that person can give you, because the other person can't give you anything. So you're loving yourself, trying to get something out of this relationship other than just a relationship, because you're obviously making that distinction that this person has more money and they can get you something. But when you turn it on its head and you actually, that's where the evil thought is. It's the love of money, or the love of wealth, the love of just getting something for yourself. But if you actually turn that around and think of, if there's nothing you can gain from this, what are you going to be doing? You should be looking how to give. And actually, if you had the mindset of giving, what can you give that person? There's no reason that person has probably everything that they need financially.
Yeah, and I think it depends on the person, but like the gifts that I can give, I might be able to give a little bit financially or physically, but the greatest gift I can give to anybody is my testimony of a relationship with the source, and the encouragement for them to pursue that same relationship.
Right. So the poor man and the rich man
they can both benefit from that.
So why would there be no reason to esteem one over the other?
No.
So if you're actually looking to, where's the love? You're looking to get something because you're loving yourself, or are you looking to give something? Or maybe actually it's okay to want to get something from somebody if that is a relationship and you want to actually connect with somebody. But when it's monetary and you're only thinking of the wealth in the matter, what can this person do for me financially? Or what can this person do for my organization financially?
When Jesus said it's the poor that will inherit,
Yeah.
It's not the wealthy. So who knows what it's like to talk with God more than the person who has nothing to talk to except God, as opposed to someone who has everything and they don't have to worry about anything,
Yeah.
I don't know. It really depends on the individual. Some people, they have everything and they still talk with God. Some people have nothing and they still don't talk with God. It goes back to the equality is in our nature. It's in who we are is where we get our equality. We are all the same. We are all the children of God. And whatever about the worldly things, the fact is that your very person is a child of God. And that's the same for every set of eyes you look into.
Right.
And just look at people that way. I don't care if you're the president of the country or the custodian who's cleaning up the vomit in the bathroom. You're both the child of the living God.
Yeah.
You're both important.
You just gave me another thought. If you're actually, according to this passage, he's talking about, this person has a ring and he has fine clothing, and this other person is wearing shabby garments. You're looking at everything on the outside.
Everything on the outside.
And nothing on the inside. You're not looking at who that person is.
Yeah.
Who they are as a child of God.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I like this passage.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you think.
Do you have any more thoughts on it? We're getting a past time.
Oh, well, no. I mean, we're right in the middle of this paragraph, so,
Yeah.
we're
Good
going to
work.
have some footwork to do next week when we try to tie it all in, but yeah.
Yeah, it's true. So, well, I guess that'll be kind of like part 2 of this talk.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed the podcast today and you want to hear more, we do encourage you to subscribe so you can be made aware when these new episodes come out. And if you did enjoy it, we do also ask you just give us a thumbs up, give us a like, whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. And if you do subscribe and you get a notification next week, we will see you next week. Take care.
Bye now.